Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the all-new Puma All-Pro Nitro Elite. And yeah, the headline on these is that they run $250. And I'm sure the question on everybody's mind, mine included, is it worth, any bit near 250 bucks? So let's get into it. All right, so starting off in the uppers, this is a large bed of what Puma calls their Ultra Weave. I actually cut through this. Now, this is like just a TPU weave on the outside, but it's a very thin netting of it. Once you cut underneath of it, it's actually fabric with like strands of TPU woven through that fabric, and then there's other textile weaving kind of on where this I'd say like where these scribble marks are kind of almost sewn into. And that's pretty interesting because it does allow quite a bit of degrees of freedom without sacrificing any containment or any feelings of lockdown. Now, speaking of lockdown, going over the top of the shoe, this is a triple thickness padded tongue. I dare you to find one that is more substantial, more bear hugging out there. I mean, this thing is absolutely fantastic. Heel slippage on these, especially for a lower shoe, really like a low drop in, none. Really none, even off of the first lacing. The heel counter does have double thickness padding as well, going all the way around there. You can put a runner's knot in this with these two vertical lace eyelets. You don't have to. I didn't, and like I said, I was still fine in terms of heel slipping. Once you go into the forefoot though, that really is just all pretty thick paneling, and then going into the lace line, it does get a little bit reinforced with felt there. It's a felt that's pretty similar to these scribble marks in the Ultra Weave, but not identical. Now you look at this thing on the upper durability test, 10-second tie grit sandpaper. The burr does work through that paneling, but it does not get to the underside of it. Just showing you, I mean, you look at this material, it is really substantial. Now with that comes the bad part. If you look at these things on the breathability test, they do heat up 127.5 degrees. Now, part of that is, yes, it is an exposed drop-in midsole, but nitro foam isn't the same as some of the thermoplastic drop-ins we see. It doesn't hold on to heat as much as those other ones do, just from my experience. And so a lot of it is the fact that, yeah, these uppers are just ridiculously thick and padded. Yeah, they do allow, like I said, a lot of flexibility. They do feel super buttery while also being really containing, and for that, yes, pretty decent feat of engineering. But you look at the breathability mapping too, you really see fog is not really getting out anywhere besides the sides of the tongue. That's kind of the price you pay for that. All right, now getting into the midsole teardown, and a lot of people ask me why I cut open drop-in midsole shoes. It's because in a case like this where it's different colored foam, right, injected through there, I want to see how far down it goes. What are we exactly getting? Now on these ones, interesting. Now on Puma's website, it says that it's nitrogen infused foam, like we always see, but also an EVA perimeter and then a carbon fiber plate. Now, this carbon fiber was a lot easier to get through with my knife. It also has a lot more forgiveness when you actually have them on foot. So to me, this seems like a carbon composite shank, which not bad at all. I actually like it. It's still very light, but also a little bit more forgiving than their carbon fiber plates. And honestly, because it's bottom loaded, there's a ton of foam over top of it. I don't see a crack in them really, but a little bit more forgiving. Now, it appears that these different colored foams are it's all nitro foam. Just looking at it on the microscope, to me it looks like, just really porous open-celled foam. And it appears like the EVA just runs the perimeter if that is the case, because I don't see any EVA foam on the actual, shell of the shoe. Now I think this thing on the bounce height test only got 30 centimeters in the rear foot, 33 in the forefoot. And yeah, I mean, to me, besides a couple Puma shoes, like I said, they all are, to me, for more ground stability, like I said, containment, but more buttery feel. Like I said, there are some exceptions. The TRC Blaze Core comes to mind. The Puma Rise Nitro comes to mind. But to me, this midsole setup, just the shoe in general, I mean, I know it's a drop-in, so is the Stewie 3, but to me, this just, it very much reminds me of the Stewie 3. To me, I would have named these more the Stewie 3 Elite, just because they're pretty heavy like the Stewies, right? Even though they talk about all these things that make the shoe lighter, it is still a pretty heavy shoe, and to me, it's much more meant for a ground assault. Yeah, the drop-in is not super heavy. The shell is, and yeah, the drop-in is nice and malleable for something with such a long carbon fiber shank, and that is, once again, feat of engineering, and it does feel great, but To me, yeah, they didn't feel like they had crazy amounts of pop to them. They weren't bad. They weren't as bottom heavy feeling as the Stewie 3 was, even though I kind of like the feeling of the Stewie 3. But they still did feel bottom heavy. But getting into the outsole tread, it's this combination of kind of linear treads, ladder treads, some kind of quasi herringbone, almost looks like Nike swooshes on the bottom, which is pretty interesting. It is a really wide, fat lateral flange too, made of outsole rubber. The one thing is, okay, so you look at the grip test ramp, they don't slip till 43 degrees. And if you keep the shoe foot flat on the ground, they do grip very well. The second you try to use the inside of these shoes though, they slip out constantly. They do also pick up a dust pretty easily. That's easy enough to wipe down. I didn't really have a problem with that. But it was any time I tried to use like the medial side of the ball of my foot, they really reminded me of the Kobe 9 Protro, the Halos I just did, where, yeah, if you kept them foot flat on the ground, if you were someone like Nafisa Collier, whose footwork is just, dialed in perfect and you know kind of how to use the shoes, they were fine. But in these ones, like I said, you better be foot flat to the ground. If I kept foot flat, grip was fine. There, I was pretty elite, to be honest. It's just that, man, as soon as I would, go to, kind of stretch out or anything, versus I had the AG5 the same day that I was doing it, and the AG5, no problems whatsoever on this court. Same day, same temp, same everything, and these ones were slipping out. I will say, in a more hot gym, on like really clean hardwood, it wasn't as bad, but I still felt that forgiveness, right? I could catch it a little bit easier, but so watch out. It really kind of depends on how well maintained that court is that you're on too. If it's really good, kind of a little more sticky, then yeah, maybe you're catching a little bit easier. But if it's a little bit cooler, or if there's some dust or whatever, the inside of the shoe, like I said, is just gonna give out. Big difference between the two. I think these things on the speed ratio too, they only come in at a 1.87 Schenck score of 0.2, bumps it up to a 2.07. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's kind of where they belong. They don't feel like clunkers by any means, like I said, because they're so buttery and easy to move around. They're so agile footwork, really fantastic. Like I said, that kind of stuff, kind of getting yourself out of odd situations, and just kind of quick footwork for a shoe that, like I said, does feel kind of bottom heavy. That's okay. And like I said, stopping power wise, because you got this super strong plastic on the lateral side that butts up right up against that lateral flange, stopping power on these is really, really fantastic. So it just kind of depends. You got the right footwork for them, then yeah, they're going to work well. If you don't, then they're really not. You look at this thing also on the outsole durability test, 10-second tie grit sandpaper, not even a millimeter of damage on these. Honestly, I do think you can take these on outdoor court, especially if I think, that they also grip a little bit better on more gritty outdoor courts. You can use more of the shoe. So to me, for a drop-in midsole shoe for outdoor courts, yeah, I mean, they're really not bad. Obviously, I think they do their best on a little bit more of a tacky hardwood court, but because the tread is chunky, it is a little bit higher durometer, it should be just fine. All right, but let's talk some fit here. These things, they only have a 9-degree inflare, which isn't terrible. 29.1 degree lengths, you do come in a hair long, and then 9.2 centimeters of metatarsal width, 9.7 centimeters of toe box width, and then a 29-degree taper in the toe box. So I did have a little bit of cramping on my left side. I mean, drop-in midsoles, there's always gonna be a little bit of, the rails of the shoe, right? There's just more there. In terms of a drop-in midsole shoe, it honestly isn't bad in terms of usable space, in terms of width. I'd say a narrow medium foot, let's go true to size on these things. A 2E, I would probably try to break these in true to size just so you get the lockdown. You can go up a half size, but if you're long-toed or long-footed, then you can go up that, 1/2 size, because like I said, the shoe is a little bit long, plus the usable space, there's the kind of that discrepancy there. 4E, I would probably be going up 1/2 size, and if you can't go up that 1/2 size, then they're probably just a mismatch. Because remember, you start going up more than that, they're also going to get long as well as heavy. In terms of the snake bitten foot, Same as a lot of other Puma shoes, they're incredibly insulating shoes. So remember, you can't put an orthotic on top of a drop-in midsole. I know someone's gonna ask me this in the comments that didn't watch this far. But remember, you can't put an orthotic on top of a drop-in, but in terms of a shoe that is a drop-in for that protection, yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty darn good, along with the Stewies for sure. You know, we've seen other companies do really good drop-in shoes for more of the snake-bitten foot, you know, like Way of Wade. And so, yeah, I think for heel pain, ball of foot pain, arch pain, I mean, especially for ball of foot pain because of those leaflets, they're not super unforgiving, right? It's not super unforgiving carbon fiber, and it's underneath of all that foam, so it is a little bit more forgiving for ball of foot pain. So also for ankle sprainers, they're okay, especially for a drop-in shoe. So for a lot of things, for a drop-in shoe, they are pretty good. But in terms of the performance, and do I think they are worth $250? Like I said, I will say these are some of the most buttery feeling shoes out there relative to weight and relative to lockdown and actually feelings of security. So in that aspect, if you want that, then yeah, like these are one of the only shoes out there that will give you that feeling. The Way of Wade 808 3 Ultra V2, right? It was the black and pink and light blue one that I did. Those ones were similar. They had maybe felt a little bit lighter, right? But they kind of that's where it kind of that's kind of the comparison I kind of draw to these, as well as these the Stewies. In terms of like bounce off the ground and feelings of launch and things like that, they didn't feel super explosive to me. Better than some of other Puma's more bottom heavy shoes for sure. And like I said, for pickleball and things like that, like I said, moving, kind of digging, kind of getting low, and like I said, all those degrees of freedom and just all that flexibility and agility, yeah, they're really good. And if that's what you want out of a shoe, then this is a good pickup. Do I think they're worth $250 a pair? I would say that they're a very, very good shoe for when they go on sale. I don't know if they're $250 good. I think to the right person, yeah, for sure. You know, maybe you're somebody with, you know, big toe joint arthritis, right, hallux limitus, and you know, you want a drop-in shoe, you want to feel more of that flexibility, but you got that forefoot pain. All right, sure, you know, like it's an investment in yourself. You're someone that really wants more of that stable feeling shoe, but all the movement of a drop-in, and you want to be able to go on indoors and outdoor courts, then yeah. But just, you got to watch out for the traction profile of them, that grip profile. You got to watch, you know, you just got to know what they can do and what the limitations are. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, especially if you're going for a pair of these. To me, the All-Pro Nitro, just as good of a shoe still, right? And the Stewie 3, I think, is comparable enough to these. So to me, like I said, it's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you want to see what I'm talking about with the Stewie 3 and kind of all the trappings that shoe has and all the tools I think you can extract out of that one, make sure you click into this video up above and subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam. I'll see you somewhere in the sneakerverse.